Welcome to the Gateway Rotary Thursday lunch. We're going to go ahead and start, even though we still got a line going because we have a pretty full program again. So, the pledge and doorway test. Cindy, come on up. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the following test. First, is it true? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thanks. Thank you. Okay, inspiration, Tommy Grace.
This is a quote from Maya Angelou. I learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Try to be a rainbow in someone's cloud. Oh.
Okay, very nice. I'm just gonna make a couple of quick announcements before we do our new member induction. Dawn, I think you were gonna introduce Jean. I have the paperwork up here for you. Just so you know, kind of behind the scenes, we get different thank you notes. We got a thank you note from Noah Holland for something. We've got a thank you note from the city of Grants Pass for the money that we dedicated to the utility boxes. We got a thank you letter from the Polio Plus speaker, along with some certificates for people who signed up. That's including Mary and Greg Millard and Bruce Murray. So that's exciting. And okay, Dawn, here, why don't we have you introduce our new member?
I could use some glasses. I hope that all of you actually kind of read a little bit about Janie Duewel. There might be a little bit here, but Jean is a very, very big person in terms of her service. She grew up in Grants Pass, class of 1964, and they still continue to have reunions, it seems, every year. And after living in the Bay Area for a long time, she moved back to Grants Pass, and we're lucky to have her. We're actually kind of lucky to have her husband Vince too, because he's a pretty good guy. But what I'd like to say about Jean is even in the Bay Area, she started a not-for-profit organization. She's had a big heart for people who struggle. And she's been with Women's Crisis Support Team for a very long time. She's the perfect person to be in our club, and she's a great friend. So, Jean, welcome.
It'll go up with that as well, which is a little better view. I forget to do this part.
Welcome, Jean. Congratulations. Would you like to say something?
Ask you any questions. Thank you. I'm excited to join Gateway Rotary. My husband's in the Wednesday group, and so I am familiar with Rotary and love what it does and believe in it. And I'm happy to be here. I already have a lot of friends here, so I feel very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Do we have any visiting Rotarians today? Any Rotarians with guests? Okay, well, I guess we'll be introduced to our North Valley students shortly. I did want to mention, I don't see Delynn here, but we do.
Maddie has softball.
we do need to point out that next time you see Delenn, that her daughter was featured on the sports section of the Grants Pass Courier for being a slugger. And so, good on her, good on both of them. Okay, announcements. Anybody have announcements? Please come on up. About our social and so forth. Do you have? Zara, do you have an announcement about our social? Anybody else? And Dawn, do you have any updates for us? Okay.
Yes, the next social will be on Thursday, April 24th at 5:30 at the Weekend Brewery. Let's see you all there.
Okay, I'm just gonna give an announcement that as the upcoming president-elect, I finally read the bylaws and realized I had a job to do. And that was kind of be the committee, kind of shore up our committees before I actually start in July. So I'm kind of sending a survey out and I'm gonna call all the members and I'm hoping that everybody can kind of step up to the plate if you're not already doing something, or if you are doing something, look for a buddy to help with what you're doing, because I sometimes sense that there are some people in here who do a whole lot. And I am worried a little bit about burnout, and I don't want burnout to happen in our club. So as I call around, and I'll start with committee chairs, I'll ask, do you have a buddy, or do you want somebody, who might you want? And then I'll talk to other people to say where you'd like to plug yourself in to help out. So you'll be hearing from me over the next few weeks. Update on shoes that fit. I did receive the shoes for Riverside School. I will see about organizing with them what will be a good day to go. We only have like 20 pairs of shoes or something, so I don't need a real huge crew to come at that one, but I definitely want people to be there to help with that. And I will send out an invite for being able to sign up. The Parkside shoes should be coming in around the first part of May. So we'll do them in two separate little things. So if you aren't able to do one, you might be able to do the other. So just be looking for some info coming pretty shortly.
Quick quiz, Bela. What day are taxes due?
What taxes?
Income tax. What? Tuesday, April 15th. And Lutz, what day does every major league team wear the number 42 in honor of Jackie Robinson's first game in Major League Baseball? What day does every major league team in baseball wear every player wear the number 42 in honor of Jackie Robinson, who played his first game on April 15th? What day, everybody, does the 20% match for our returnable bottles and cans start? April 15th, good.
Good afternoon, everybody. Rob Randis from the Wednesday Club. I recognize a lot of you here for another plug for the track meet. May 10th. Would love to see a few more volunteers. I know I've already got a few of you conscripted for javelin catching duty and whatnot. But as always, I will promise you it's going to be 72 and sunny with a light breeze. I already pulled ahead. All jokes aside, we're in pretty good shape. A handful more people always makes things easier. The sponsors are actually killing it this year. We've got Les Schwab on as a prime sponsor now. We're ahead of last year. I think we'll probably crack 25,000 raised for the school, so that's fantastic. If you have an interest, two ways to do it. Go ahead. You can text me your name, 541-659-9701, or hit me up with an email, robertbrandis@charter.net. I'm in DAC-DB. We'll try to get you into your event of choice. It's a little bit fuller, but we'll have to take whoever can make it out there. Thank you.
Good that there won't be a big wind, Rob, because if there was, then all the times would be eliminated because of wind. There is a thing about that, if you're a track person. All I wanted to say is, please remember that May the 16th, our club and the IB club will be working together to do our Western Night, which is the first district conference event. It's going to be at the fairgrounds. I think that day in particular, we're gonna need a lot of people to help us decorate and get ready. It's going to be a lot of fun. There are lots of things that are happening, and thank you, Lisa. She brought some canning jars. What better way to drink your favorite beverage at a Western event than using a canning jar? Okay, so please sign up. You can do so on DAC-DB.
And I think these are our guests, Kylie and Gavin. Are you, hi, we have guests who are looking at Rotary. They just arrived, so say hello to them. And I think Tommy's gonna help them get organized. She works at Road Creamery, and we all love Road Creamery, so welcome. We'll get you organized. Okay, Doug, are you ready to introduce the North Valley fundraiser? Would that be you? Come on up and thank you.
That would be, I don't know what to say, other than North Valley High School. These two young ladies are gonna talk about their fundraiser, and they are part of the Interact, which is our club's mirror organization at the high school level. And so we sponsor them, and then we encourage them to do things similar to what we do. So they are here to talk about fundraising, I think. Come on up.
Go ahead and talk this way because last time I was way too quiet. So, hi. We are North Valley Interact. Like you said, we're your guys' like mirror club at the high school level. And we're here to talk about our Thirst Project. Alright, so we're here to talk about the Thirst Project. And before COVID hit, all the Interact clubs from North Valley, Hidden Valley, and Grants Pass all basically banded together to fundraise for 2 wells in Eswatini and Africa. And they were able to do this in under a year. And so this is why we're hoping you will fund us. All right, and then basically we're here to ask for your guys' support to help fund our well because we're working solo. So yeah, it's not easy to build a well. All right, so what is the global water crisis? Basically, 785 million people aren't able to access clean and safe drinking water, which leads to diseases and death. And it's an estimate that every 21 seconds, people, like young people, are dying from these diseases because they don't have access to safe, clean drinking water. So, I mean, water is a necessity. I'm sure all of you had at least a cup today. And typically in those areas, the people that are collecting water are women and children between the ages of 8 and 13, and then obviously women of all ages. And these places are affected by that in their economy because, you know, women work jobs. And when they can't work jobs, they can't bring in as much money for the family. So that's been a decent problem with the water crisis. And it's very time consuming to go get water every day because on average it takes about 3.5 miles of walking with a jug that's pretty heavy. So yeah, like Macy said, it's 3.7 miles of walking just for the average commute for either a child or a mother. And the 5-gallon jugs that they carry can be up to 44 pounds. So what essentially is our goal? We're aiming to create a place where people can get water safely close to wherever they're living, all across the world is what Thirst Project is. In 2008, it funded 3,500 wells for people in need. And like that brought a lot of water to people because you need water to shower, to do your dishes, to drink. All of the above, people need water and we're trying to bring it to them. So yeah, and so what happens once the wells get built in is that they'll have like basically training stations for them to learn how to wash their hands. And they'll also put in like the pivot trains for waterways. And this can help reduce up to 37.5% of the waterborne deaths that are occurring in these places. So where does the money go? All of our money goes to a well that we are funding, and it's maintained by the locals, so that in itself builds a job for the people there. It's accessible to anybody who needs it, and it works 24/7, 365, so everybody has water when they need it. So what happens when they aren't able to put in a well due to like arsenic contamination, which is basically when all the materials or substances within the ground like contaminate the water and making it poisonous and causing death. Basically, they'll put in bio sand water filters into the homes, and this can last up to 10 or more years for families of 4 because they aren't able to access wells. So what's gonna happen when we build these wells? Well, we're gonna be reducing the waterborne diseases that are often contracted by people just trying to survive. And we're gonna allow women to financially contribute all across the world, which is very important. Children at school are gonna be less focused on, oh, I need to survive, and more focused on being able to live with water. And the money overall will really help the economy, and it will eradicate AIDS death. All right, so how can you guys get involved? Well, first of all, open donations are always allowed, and we're open to them. And then second of all, who all here likes ground beef or likes to eat it? Can I get a raise of hands? Yeah, okay, everybody likes it. So basically, we are banding together with Pacific Road Ranch, which started in Gold Beach in the 1930s. And into the 90s, they became like the second most famous ground beef brand because they had the full-blood female Wagyu cows. And then in 2013, they became the Pacific Road Wagyu cows. And we're providing very good quality beef in order for you guys to support us. So our beef is $12 a pound, and it will be delivered out whenever the next Rotary meeting is, depending on if you guys order today or not. And our Wagyu is literally served at some of the best restaurants across Oregon, so I really recommend getting a taste of it. And then 50% of your guys' donations will go to our Interact Club, but 100% of them will go to the Thirst Project. Any questions?
So we have a sign up sheet, so if anyone is interested in buying beef, so pretty simple, we just have name, phone number, and then how many pounds you would like. If you have cash or a check and you wanted to pay today, that's great. Otherwise, if you want it, so come on, I've got it. No, they're on there. Oh, sure. Yeah, so if you wanted to pay today, that's great. But if it's something where you want to coordinate with Delynn, because Delyn's she's actually got all the beef in their freezer at State Farm. It's a lot. But yeah, you can also do that and pay later, sign up later. This will be an ongoing fundraiser for us. Yeah, so Friday Club helped out a little bit, but yeah.
You have cards or flyers of how we can donate online for Thirst? I know we used to have little handouts that we gave out for that.
Yeah, so I don't have any on me, but that's something I can send with Delynn, and actually I'll be back in 2 weeks with Noah for this beach competition as well, so I can bring some then. Cause yeah, you can just donate through, actually, you know what, our coordinator was trying to figure that out, and I'm not sure he got back to us on that. Cause there was an issue with the website, but if you wanted to do just a cash donation to the Thirst Project, or a check, then that will just run through us, and yeah, each well costs about $12,000 to build, and we're currently sitting around 2,000. So still got a ways to go, but we're closer than we were a few weeks ago even. So We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks, ladies.
Thank you, guys.
And I want to let you know that I'll be happy to make a donation and start that. I'll do that later today and get that organized. Okay, are we ready for our program? Come on up, Doug.
Okay, thank you. That was lovely, and we'll, hopefully we'll get that information so we can make a donation to it. Okay, so we're doing something a little bit out of the ordinary today. We're doing vocationals, plural, with 4 longtime members. We were asked at program committee to start doing vocationals again, or start asking for that. And then one of the points that was brought up is people have been here a while, have not had a chance to talk about who they are. New members have in the past come in and talked, so we kind of all realize that. So because we're pressed for time, we're just gonna dive right into this. We have 4 members. We have Jodi, if you're ready. You can bring your pizza with if you want. Jodi, Steve, Janie, and Lutz are gonna come up. They're gonna talk a little bit about themselves. And so, because again, we're pressed for time, come on up, please. We will just kind of ask some questions. We're not gonna restate what they wrote in the navigator about themselves, but we'll just kind of go through some questions. So because Jodi is next to me, I'll start with Jodi. So Jodi, you talked a little bit about your daughter, and what she's doing as a pilot and everything. And it sort of made me think, about that moment when she was 10, 8, 12, whatever it was. And you sort of realized, oh shit, she's really gonna follow through this and become a pilot. What was that moment like, and how'd you deal with that and whatnot?
That's pretty interesting in the fact that at the start of her sophomore year in high school, she stated the fact she wanted to be a pilot. And it's like, where'd that come from? And, ultimately she had gone to Mexico a few times, of course, flying. And she never wavered her whole rest of her high school career. She continued to focus on that. We were able to get her in some different seminars and training type things up in Hillsborough, where they would bring in pilots and other schools and things like that to talk about it. And she just went, and as we all know, well, most of you may not know, she was a pilot for Dutch Rose for 7 years, and they moved back to Georgia just last year. Her husband's also a pilot who works for NetJets. And so she currently is not flying, she's staying in the airplane industry, the airline industry. And the fact she's going to dispatching school, which is when they actually create the flight plans, they follow everything, they make up conditions and itineraries and fuel and the whole gamut. So every flight that goes has a dispatcher attached to it. So kind of interesting.
It's a whole different economic world, business model that we're not very familiar with. That's fascinating. Okay, we're gonna jump to Lutz now. So Lutz, a little vague wisdom. So you're a philosophy major, philosophy professor. And so in philosophy, there's lots of little bits of wisdom that come at you and wisdom as you go. Any of those sort of ring true with life and your experiences? No, this is the one that I bring forward and would write on your tombstone or something else.
Academic philosophers really don't have a great deal to offer to people in everyday life, at least in my opinion. That going to philosophy conferences was one of the most boring things that I ever went to, because you have one person presenting a paper that only 3 of his friends in the front row really understood. So I gave up on academic philosophy conferences very early in my career and opted instead for conferences on international education, where I would meet people from various parts of the world who all brought something new for me to look at. If I were going to give one piece of advice that comes out of philosophy, it's kind of a reverse from the conference kind of thing, is that life is grim, but not necessarily serious. That some of you may have noticed that I do try to bring humorous kinds of things to my sergeant at arms kinds of thing. And it's to me, it's always been important to keep recognizing that.
So Steve, you talked a little bit in your bio, sort of about being balanced and whatnot. Can you talk a little bit about that being balanced and staying neutral, both business, how you're involved? There's sort of different thing. One of the things I thought about was, your ability to be neutral, to be involved in community activities, but not to overemphasize your position on things, and whatnot.
Okay, well, as far as balance, I'm probably the last person to talk to about balance. But I really try and do a reasonably good job with it, and as I mentioned, both the community, my personal life, and the business life, of maintaining balance. I like to think of, we have seasons that we go through, rather than actually, that balance, everything perfect. So as long as I have the balance on a long-term basis, I think that's a good thing, and really, for me, the opportunity to give back. I feel that I get back probably 5 times as much as the ability of what I did when I help others. That for me is an important part of giving back, and it started with my dad. My dad was the person that really gave back a lot, and he was also this person, you know, do the back page of the state review. And one of the tests he had for the state review was, it's got to be non-controversial, it has to be interesting. And I think that's how I try and maintain my life with non-controversial. You know, we talk about this idea of mental health was really an important part of me in the bullying that I experienced growing up in high school. And so for me, it's a matter of staying safe by not going through that. So if I think it works out well for me, my own mental health, to stay on the side of being neutral as much as we can on things. I will say, as I've gotten older, I take a few more chances now and step out on areas that that are important to me personally.
Okay, so Janie, you're in sales. I've been in sales for, well, probably most of your life, right? And all of us at some time in our life, probably every day, are doing something that's sort of sales related, convincing somebody to do something where, you know, whatever it happens to be. And since you've been in the world, you've sort of focused on and been trained and looked at ways to improve. So can you give us some advice about sales? What you think are some good characteristics or habits that make it work, or anything like that?
Yeah, I would say a few things. First, I would say tenacity is probably the most important thing, because you're not gonna get it right every time. Even if you get it perfectly, you're gonna get a lot of no's in your life. And just the ability to keep on trying, keep plugging away, refine your message, be really clear about what it is you're asking for or trying to sell, or what your messaging is. And you just, I mean, if you're gonna make a career out of it, you gotta love it. You gotta be a self-motivated person, and you gotta really enjoy it. And organization helps a lot, as it does in most things in life. I think you need to be really organized about, you know, you're talking to this person about that, you're in the process here with that one, this one, remember he needed that before you came back. So there's a lot of organization involved as well. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. I just want to talk more about it, yeah. I feel like I'm being hectic because I think we're stressed for time, but we're doing okay, so don't expand on any of these things if I have something you want to. Yes.
But their bios, even if I read those things, it really describes their vocation and their lives. I don't know if it seems like there's plenty of time.
My wife is helping me.
Well, maybe they don't want to.
So if you want to read the bios, they're on the navigator. How's that? If we have time, we'll come back to them. Jodi, so you talked about in your bio, you talked about you've been in banking probably almost all your life, right? And you talked about, and Beth was in banking as well, and this kind of experience on the outside was sort of humorous to me, but the number of times banks get merged or disinvested from each other, whatnot, and you described, I think, 7 different bank titles, 6 different banks that you work for. And that is an interesting thing. And so which ones have the best sort of swag and things, you know, you're having more of it. Which bank had the best sort of non-monetary benefits, like they brought the best cookies, you know, the Christmas party kind of thing or whatnot. You know that?
Well, yeah, I've been in 42 years in banking next month. So it's been there, it started off at Family Bank, which was bought by Valley of the Road, which was merged and became Umpqua. And then I went to Premier West,
and I then went to Liberty, which was bought by Home Federal, which then was bought by Bank of the Cascades. And then I left and I've been at Banner for 10 years in July, so I'm very happy to be there. You know, actually, we've had different good swag in different places, but you know, it's kind of hard to say who has the best. One of the things I think Liberty was really, really giving. I mean, Banner is also, so I'm extremely happy where I'm at, but Liberty is also one of those that we have fabulous Christmas parties and the different types of things that they really focus back on employees a lot.
Did you think that made them a better bank from your perspective? I mean, how was that perceived over time?
Yeah, I think, well, for one thing, you know, when your employees are happy, the clients know it. And I won't say any place that I can't have my employees feel that way. And so a lot of it comes, you know, even from my level across to making sure that we're all working together, because like I told them, you know, we're working together and living together longer than we are most of the time with our own family at home, you know, other than sleeping. So, you know, we've got to be able to get along. And when employees can feel it from the top management down, that says a huge amount. And Liberty was huge on that. Banner has been huge on that. I think it makes that, and needless to say, that's kind of the direction that I go for, is trying to find the people and make stuff.
You talked about recently digging into worldview from the perspective of the German culture and maybe how you grew up with it. And also, did you come to any conclusions about that? And then how did you compare that to maybe the worldview you got from your parents or your people you were raised with?
Yeah, it's always been, since I realized that I came from a culture that brought us both Bach and Beethoven, but at the same time, Goering and Goebbels. It's been something that's been very much on my mind about how I reconcile those kinds of things in my background. A few years, well, actually, it's been about 20 years ago now. I met Ursula Hagi at a conference. Many of you probably recognize her from Floating in My Mother's Palm and Stones from the River and so on. But she had just finished a book called Breaking the Silence, in which she talked about, she was about my age, and she talked about how difficult it was for her to try to get anything out of her parents about the war. And I experienced the same kind of thing with my mother, who was dead at that time, but not during the war. It got me interested again in trying to see what kinds of things were in her documents. Unfortunately, most of the stuff that was in there was in German and the old German script. And so I kept putting it away, particularly a journal that was written by the man that she was supposed to marry. This is long before I was born. And she ended up actually marrying his helmet because he had been killed in Russia. And so trying to look through those, I kept thinking, you know, I really need to get somebody to translate these. But it was difficult to find anybody that would work through them. So my kids, just fairly recently, my daughter said, you know, let me have one of those journals. And so she ran it through a system that translated the German from the script into typed German, and then ran that through a process of translating from German to English. And I was fascinated with what I had. It was, this man wrote like an aristocrat from the 1890s. And it was incredible to read about what he was thinking as the German army moved through France. And then when he was transferred to the Russian front, and the kinds of things that was going through his mind. So it gave me some incredible personal kind of attachment to what had been abstract for me before.
Steve? So you have, probably you have probably of all of us here, maybe one of the largest businesses within the community of Rotary here and whatnot, and it's family owned or family operated. So have you had conversations, or you're gonna be going down the path of succession planning and how that's gonna work out and how you've thought about different family members, how they might fit in? Can we talk about that a little bit? Because it's a different perspective, I think, than most of us ever have to deal with.
Hope runs the place now, what do you mean? You know, for me, for succession planning, my sister's involved in the business, and fortunately, she's younger than I am. And really don't know what that holds. My children, and Lori's children are not interested in the business. And the business has changed as far as the car dealerships. And, you know, one of the things, my dad lived till be 91, and I would say he stayed active till 85. Obviously, we'll come to that point in which we have to make a decision, but it would be a sale at that point, to what that business would look like. But for me, I think the thing is staying healthy. Lori and I, we have a good time together, and we wish we had children that would entertain the business going forward. At the same time, with the way the business is going and larger business going around, I don't know if I would really recommend it in the same way. That might be, you know, so it's I think many businesses are challenged by that in today's times, what that looks like. And one thing is, our businesses, like many businesses, it's even hard to say what 3 years out can look like. It could be changed dramatically at that time frame. So I think for us to do that long-term planning is a hard thing to do, because just things are changing so much in our marketplace today.
Yeah, that's a good point, that your business is volatile in various effects, or various things affect it in a volatile way, yeah. Yeah, excellent. Okay, Janie, we're gonna give you one question and then we'll go to audience questions here in a moment. So Janie, I had prepared a question about, so what was your sort of maybe your favorite fundraising campaign or sales campaign? And then she kind of looked at me and said, they all feel the same after 30 years, right? And that really rung true with me, because you know, people ask me about construction jobs I've done, like I can't remember any of that. It's all the same. It's all a blur. So I totally get that. So skip that question. It's all the same. So you RV around a lot, and you bounce around and have adventures in your RV with your cats. And I would call your cat crazy.
Yeah,
Oh, crazy cat.
that is correct.
So you're gonna write a book, right, about that children's book? Because that sounds like a children's book.
There may be things in there that are inappropriate for children. Or even my own parents. So.
Yeah, you spell that out. Okay, does anybody have questions? What are your questions?
Jodi, I know you're involved in the sheriff's posse. How did you get involved, and what motivated you to do that?
You know, I've been involved with the sheriff's posse, I think it's been over 13 years now. And, you know, just being around like-minded people with horses was a big draw. My husband always has stated the fact that, you know, I should have been a cop. But anyway, so that was just my little way of being able to kind of do that. Since being in the posse, I have absolutely grown to love the state organization, which is the Oregon Association of Mounted Posses, which kind of governs and oversees all of the other posses. And luckily, right now, I've been going up through the ranks, and currently I'm first vice president, will be president next year. So very excited about that.
Okay. And you sound like you're ready to be sergeant arms. Yeah. Hang on.
What defines a posse? The posse, you know, in years back, you used to actually really be more, you know, go out and get the bad guys. Now we're basically just kind of a nice front for being able to show a different side of the sheriff's department. You know, we've all been special deputized. Not that I could go out and arrest somebody, but you know, I could look like I could because I've got a badge and everything. And basically, we just are there to be able to be a community front. You know, you'll see us in parades. You'll see us at times when there's evacuations. Maybe we're out trying to stop people from going down roads that have been closed or things like that. We will be kind of a face at the fairgrounds. So we'll be, you know, you'll see us there, and you guys have all helped too. So thank you very much. But you know, we go and they see the badge, and not that we're going to do anything about it, but at least it kind of maybe puts some of the riffraff a little bit back just a friend.
I've been here for a long time and you are all cornerstones of our club. And my question isn't really a question, it's more of a statement of thank you for the leadership that you've provided and the inspiration that each of you have been. And I guess I will follow up with a question because Jeannie's my birthday sister. And I love cats more than anything in the world. What's your cat's name?
Her name is India. She has a white diamond kind of on her forehead and she looks like she's from India. But she acts like she's from hell.
So since you guys are all in such different, careers, different venues, just a question for helping students prepare for the next level, like what's one piece of advice you would give for students who are looking at launching into the next phase of their lives?
Okay, well, I'll start and that is I can give no advice at all, honestly, just because for me, my world has changed drastically being in media sales. I used to say, man, if you have kind of an outgoing personality, there's nothing greater than a job like in media sales. You're out and about, coming and going, setting your own schedule, you know, there were so many good things about it, but the world is just changing so quickly that, you know, I'm not gonna recommend you go sell newspaper or radio, or I don't even know where broadcast television is gonna be in the next few years. So, I'm sorry, I have no advice. It's definitely not the kind of advice I would have given 5 years ago, which would be get out there and try it, you know?
I'm supposed to answer this one too. I would say listen. And when I say listen, I'm taking it in the sense of when I was in Taiwan, teaching and talked with my colleagues there and talked about how different it is to see something as characters instead of in a sentence. One example they gave me was they said, look, Lutz, at this character for to listen. And they said, you know, what would you assume was in that character in terms of its makeup? And I said, well, obviously, you know, mouth and ear, you know, you hear it somehow. And they said, yes, but look at this other one. It's mouth, it's ear, and it's heart. That to listen in Mandarin involves not just some physical kind of thing, but that your heart is really in it. And when you think about how few people really listen to each other as they're talking, you know, being aware of what's going on out there in the world, and taking it to heart, I think, no matter what field you're going into, is an important aspect.
My big thing is work ethic. You need to be able to be there. You need to do what you say you're gonna do. You need to realize work isn't just this many days a week, and yes, you do have to go to work every day. You know, I mean, being in my position, I have interviewed a lot of people through the course of years. I've had a lot of employees through the course of years, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate the people that have a work ethic behind them, stand behind what they say they're going to do, and get it done.
I would recommend having a backup plan because things change in life, and sometimes what we think we want isn't available to us later on, so your career may go away. And I would say by volunteering along the way too, and the volunteering gives you an idea for a backup plan. So you've got your primary career and then maybe a hobby that you could go into a career if that developed into it, or you just say, you know what, I like this volunteering a lot better than the career I'm in. And I want to go into that, and you make a change. And, you know, I think when our parents grew up, it was that you worked at one place for the rest of your life. And in today's times, I don't think that's as true. And I think in the next few years, that's going to be even, people are going to do more of that. The other thing is that this week, I received a book in the mail from the Oregon Community Foundation on their marketing and communications committee. And it was What If? It was a blank book. And I just thought, what if, and of course, you dream about what's gonna happen for your life. In this case here, they're asking what would happen if OCF did such and such a project. But at the same time, I think looking at what if, and the possibilities are, there are no limits. So looking at part of it, with just taking the limits off and go full throttle toward that project. Those are a couple ideas.
Thank you.
You got more questions? Now,
Well, first of all, I want to follow up with what Jen said. We've all been cornerstones of our Rotary. But one of the things that I'd like to know is what made you know that Rotary was the thing for you? What was your aha moment that said, yes, this to me is what I really want to follow up down the road?
As a charter member of the club, the opportunity came about when 4 members of the Grants Pass Rotary says, we're gonna start a new Rotary club in town, and would you like to join? And for me, I was in the active club, and things were so much different in Rotary. So I was in the active club, and I had to make a choice. I had to drop out of the active club to join Rotary. That was a requirement. And they had things like 80% attendance, and there was a lot more, I'll call it rules, and I would really like to think we've evolved along the way. But for me, it was the idea of international service, of community service, and club service that really appealed to me. Those 3 cornerstones of Rotary, being able to give back.
I had been in the Kiwanis, and I'd done other types of nonprofit organizations and stuff, and I've been in the Kiwanis, and being in banking, they kind of want you to be involved in different networking type things, and so they pretty much said, Kathy Peckham was my mentor, and what do you call it, not the guest, but the host, anyway, she's the one that brought me in, and I said, thank you. And anyhow, so she brought me in and I got started and stuff, because I've been really involved in the Kiwanis when I was there. And I love the fact that this group in particular gives you the opportunity to be so involved, to do the things that you want. I mean, we've had the dog care fair, I've got a bunch of these things that are my heartstring things that have gone away, but we had the dog care fair, we had the gala that we used to do, and now we've got the backpack program and the shoes for kids and those different types of things. So personally, for me, getting to the community, that here is what pulls my heartstrings and keeps me extremely involved. But I love the club, I love the support. I mean, you could not ask, well, as you guys know, you couldn't ask for a better group of people, so.
Were you on it?
No. When Margaret Bradford dragged me to a meeting one time, I was expecting a group of old white guys talking about business, and found that that wasn't what was happening at all, that people were talking about all kinds of events, all kinds of things going on. And realized that I already knew a number of the people in the club and respected them, and realized that this was a group that I would like to be involved with. It was funny because I came home that first day and Lisa said, how was it? And I said, well, it's been a long time since I've said the Pledge of Allegiance, sung Home on the Range, and listened to a prayer within 3 minutes.
So I'll talk about when I was asked if I would consider becoming club president. I had no intention of ever doing that, but I said yes, and it was extremely rewarding, but I wanted to accomplish something. And I was looking for a project in the community, and we'll bring up Margaret Bradford again. She threw out a suggestion about the senior resource center that was being built. And we decided we were gonna build a tranquility garden. Like, there's no way in a million years I could accomplish that by myself, but I knew with the people in this club, like Doug Walker, and just everybody, I knew if I threw it out there and said, I think this could be really cool, what do you guys think, will you help me? And everybody said, yeah, we'll help you. And we built something just really amazing and something that I was so proud of. And I just love that I could come to this club and say, I want to do something cool, you help, and I know you're all gonna say yes and it's gonna happen, so that's for me to think. Wow, thanks, everybody.
Boy, I feel like we should have trophies or prizes and champagne for you. And, you know, Greg, the Fishwick, weren't you gonna be a professional baseball player at one point?
That's why I would support having a backup plan.
I knew you had that. Doug, thank you very much for organizing that, just absolutely outstanding. Okay, let's go to sergeants. Jim Huber. You have a mic runner?
Well, talking about careers that never happened, my grandmother wanted me to be a priest, but I like girls too much, so it didn't happen. At any rate, just a few little facts, then we're gonna jump into Happy Bucks. Today is April the 10th. And today in American history, just a couple of fun things, I found these interesting. In 1607, the British colonial expedition that would found Jamestown departs from Puerto Rico to the American mainland. 1825, the first hotel in Hawaii opens. In 1841, the New York Tribune begins publishing under the editor Horace Greeley. You remember him from your high school days, Horace Greeley? And then finally, 1845, more than 1,000 buildings damaged by fire in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is probably why we have fire codes today. Let's do some Happy Bucks. Let's begin with Happy Bucks. Anybody, any brave soul want to raise their hand? Right, I'm happy. There we go. Sorry.
I have 5 happy bucks for 2 things. One for the great presentation from the girls about the first project and getting fundraising. And I will get you. I love working. So great. And another one for all these wonderful speeches that we had today. Thank you.
Yeah, I have another one over here I could run from, so let's go. Anyway, Happy Bucks for presentations. It's always nice to see the high school kids come and be active again. I was gonna ask about whatever happened, because I do remember working with the first SERPS project for Rotary, and the girl who was gonna go, they actually pulled back her, and I don't know if she ever got the chance. Okay, good. Yes, I'm really excited to hear that's happening. So that's wonderful. And I am so happy. I am the bionic woman. I have officially, in the last 3 years, have replaced both of my knees, and now I have replaced my hip. And the best thing is, after all these years of all these surgeries, it was really the hip that was the worst one, and I'm able to sleep, and that makes me very happy. I'm happy to do my first Happy Bucks, and I'm happy to be a new member of the Gateway Rotary. I have some Happy Bucks for my RCC teachers that taught me in my first term. Margaret, I'm a great writer. And Lutz, I'm really good at thinking a lot. And James, I know an awful lot about American history because of you. All of you in my first term, or first year at RCC, so thank you guys.
Well, tonight is a community concert. It's the last of the season. And they are really struggling. Community concert in general, and they no longer have it in Medford or Roseburg. And we, as Grants Pass, are struggling with it. And so they've opened it up. And so it's free tonight at 7:30. And it's a guitar and cello duo. And evidently they've been here before. I didn't catch it when it was here, but everybody really enjoyed it. Community concerts are really, there's different levels of music. There's the symphony, there's rock. So community concert, the performers really interact with the audience more, and they tend to play recognizable music, and, it's just very down home, wonderful. So you're all invited. They're also having a little fundraiser, silent auction stuff, but come out and enjoy live performance. It's at the Performing Arts Center at the high school. And then on a different note, my church every year gives a free talk, from a lecturer that we invite in. And this year is going to be Sunday at 3 o'clock at the church on 10th Street. And the title is Learning How to Love Your Enemy. And I thought, oh, wow, how relevant for me these days. First Church of Christ Scientist on 845 Northeast 10th Street, and it's got a rounded architecture. And so go on A Street, turn uphill to on 10th Street, and it's not very far.
I'm going to tag on to what Debbie was just talking about, because most of you that have known me for a while knew that I was a music educator for many, many years. One of my memories and a fun project that I did was that I always invited a student from one of my classes, and it was usually a 4th or 5th grader, that I would take out to dinner and then to a community concert. And many times that student had never heard music like this, had never been to a concert, and had never dressed up to do such. And it really opened up their worlds. It was a wonderful event. And I would hate to see community concerts end for that and many other reasons. I also want to say, I was so impressed with what you are doing, North Valley. And I was thinking back to my high school years, and I was very involved in music and drama. And I don't remember anything like this. I do not remember our high school doing anything this forward thinking. So I'm very impressed with what you do. Congratulations.
Excellent. Okay, I have 5 happy bucks for our speakers and the kids and Margaret, because if it had not been for Margaret, I would have left the club like in 2008 or 2009 when I retired the first time, and we went to Alaska and we were gonna be gone and just all kinds of things. And Margaret said to me, no, Lisa, you don't have to leave the club. You need to take a leave of absence. And she did the Service Above Self program while I was gone for those couple of years. And that's what brought me back. Margaret and the Service Above Self for the kids, because I knew I could do that. And one person can affect the world about them through this group.
Okay, I'm gonna do that. Last topic back, and this is just for people with a sense of humor. I was at Albertsons the other day, and the checker had a T-shirt on that said, "Exercise." I thought you said extra fries. Which is appropriate for me.
Spades.
Okay, so that brings us to the end, and I have the thought for today, a quote from Martin Luther King when he was giving his Nobel Peace Prize acceptance speech in Oslo, Norway, 1964. "I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality. This is why right, temporarily defeated, is stronger than evil triumphant. See y'all next week.